Hey, this is Jeff McNeil, joined by Doug Davison, and we're here this week again to talk about the things in the newspaper. Not only do that, but to go beyond the pages of the newspaper and just give a little insight into the most interesting things in the newspaper. And this week's main story was the sentencing of John Southworth. And Doug, these things, it seems like they just carry on for a while, and we're a year and a half into this one. It's finally done, but it's also quite the lengthy process, and that's the case for just about everything that we deal with, isn't it?
A lot of the major ones anyway, and that's probably as it should be. There's a lot of checks and balances involved, and to get it right is not a quick procedure.
Well, Mr. Southworth was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He also got a 2-year sentence on a drug charge, but those will run together. So 7 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections, and there was a lot of interesting feedback and opinions on that sentencing. A lot of opinions that maybe that wasn't a stiff enough penalty. And Doug, we've talked about it here in the office. I think the bottom line for all of us is that we don't always have all the information that goes into these sentences. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We don't know the discussions with the prosecutor and the family. And regardless of how we feel, the person that has the most information is making the decision they feel that is correct.
Correct. And I think it's safe to say that we don't need to know a lot of those details.
Right.
We're on a need-to-know basis when it comes to these procedures, and it's just not relevant to us.
There are interesting things that are become components of this sentencing like this. You've got victim families that maybe they would say, I don't want the victim to have to go through this again. I don't want them to sit on the stand and be cross-examined by a defense team, a very good defense team, and relive the nightmare that they had to go through. And so these are all things that go into the equation. And while we don't always agree with the sentencing, like I said, we don't have all the details. So to sit back and play Monday morning quarterback is maybe not always wise for us to do. I know we all do it, and we all have opinions.
And we're always right, aren't we? We're always
and our
right.
opinion is always the best, right?
Yes.
And another thing I want to talk about related to opinions as well is that, you're watching this on Facebook most likely. And we have the opportunity for people to leave comments and share their opinions on posts on Facebook, and that happens a lot. And this was a very high-profile case that people had a lot of opinions on. We had a situation where we had to ban someone from the page, and I wanted to speak directly to that. There's no censorship in the newspaper office. We don't go around and talk about deleting comments or sending people off the page. But the bottom line is we also do our best to protect victims. And so when someone identifies the underage victim of a sex crime, which is what happened in this situation, we had to remove that person from the page. I don't like it, but I stand by that. It's just a zero tolerance. And I know, Doug, that we all feel the same way about protecting those involved in these cases.
Yeah, it's just common sense. There is a line that can be crossed, and it's just different than censorship. It really is.
Not always popular, but a move we had to make. And speaking of law enforcement, as we kind of adjust here, Doug, this week in the newspaper, you spoke to Houston Police Chief Tim Saplina about the 2017 statistics with his department, and a lot of interesting numbers. As always, the police are as busy and busier than they've ever been, which seems like a reoccurring theme. But
it is. Yeah.
What were some numbers that stood out to you as you talked to Chief Saplina and wrote that story?
Well, the main one is the written reports. 747 cases that were investigated that required a written report. That's by far a new record. The old record was in the low 700s from a couple of years ago. And of course, that's with 6 full-time officers, the same number they've been operating with since the early 90s when they did maybe 300 or 400 written reports. Bottom line is the guys are just super busy, and it's a good thing that the city has allowed them to bring on a 7th full-time officer who starts, this week as a matter of fact, yes. And then other things that stood out, your assaults and your drug charges and all the things that are signs of the times we're in right now, we're all up. I guess that shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone.
No, this is not Houston of the 1980s, where I grew up at, where you didn't lock your doors and everyone knew every single person and everything about them, and you could trust everyone. Unfortunately, this is the society that we live in. Houston is still a great place to live, but you also have to be smart and protect yourself and know that there are individuals out there that are doing wrong things, and we have law enforcement out there doing their best to protect all of us and keep the law. And the numbers reflect that crime is here.
Yeah.
Drugs, assaults.
And it's increasing.
Yeah, it is. And so they didn't have to do a hard sell. The numbers speak for themselves and have for a long time that another officer was needed in this community. So I'm sure that the department welcomes the addition of Jacob Shannon with
no doubt,
with open arms to know that, hey, we are overloaded here and we need some help. And it's awesome to see the city and the city council step up and provide that help for our community ultimately.
Right. As Tim Ciplina would say, that's what it's all about, is making it a better place to live, or at least as good as it can be.
And they also have some improvements that they're making in the department as well, and talk about some of the additions that they have coming this year and have already made.
Yeah, well, the fleet is always being improved, and there's a new police package Explorer that's already in the fleet, and they've got 2 more on order already. So sometime this year, actually sometime early this year, they'll be out on the road. They got 7 really cool bulletproof vests that are designed to stop a .308 caliber bullet at short range. You hope you never need something like that, but what a nice insurance thing to have in case you do.
And they weigh 25 pounds, right?
Yeah, they're not light. They're heavy. And there's other things going on that just make it a really good department. Tim talks at length about how proud he is of the department, and honestly, I see it the same way. It's operating very well right now with a good staff.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say it's a great group of guys. I know a lot of them personally, go to church with several of them. They're people that live in this community, care about this community, care about the people, and you see it just in all that they do and the way that they handle the situations they encounter.
It's not superficial.
It's a great department with great guys and working hard, and it's awesome to see the city step up and support them to the best that they can.
Right. That's, amen to that.
On Sunday, you went out to the annual meeting at Oakwood Golf Club. A little different this year because there's new leadership.
Yeah.
And so why don't you talk about that? Because there were quite a few people that were there with you.
There was a good-sized crowd in that clubhouse, and Doug and Tina Sutton conducted a nice meeting and said several times how nervous they were, which is a sign that they cared.
Yeah.
A lot of good discussion, many suggestions made, and I just have this feeling, and I don't really know, how to explain it, that things are moving in the right direction there, and good luck to them.
Well, I know it's our opinion here. First of all, it's kind of exciting. Changes, it can be pretty exciting, and this is exciting. You've got new people in there with new ideas and fresh ideas, and so I think we're going to see some pretty cool things unfold. But it's also our opinion here that you can host all the tournaments you want and all the special deals you want, but ultimately it's about our community, and especially the golfers and the people interested in sports going out there, playing regularly, buying memberships, for this thing to work and for us to keep this golf course, which is a nice asset for our community. People need to go out there and play. That's
the bottom line. All the ancillary activities and things are great, and they're necessary. Mm-hmm. But what's even more necessary is there just needs to be more people playing golf out at Oakwood. That's what it's all about.
And it seems like the interest is there, so...
Yeah, and they lowered prices too, by the way.
There you go. There's a quick sales pitch there.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you joining us. A lot of interesting things in the newspaper, as always, all the crime and, things that we don't enjoy reporting on, but it's our duty, and so you can read all about that. We touched briefly on the stats from the police story. There are so many stats that you can get a full understanding of just what those guys are up to, how busy they are, and the things they are encountering. It's all laid out in the newspaper, and I guess online as well. You put together a nice PDF of basically every single stat from the report that Chief Ciplina gave to the City Council.
Yeah, if you want to see some numbers, they're all posted online.
All right. Thanks for joining us.